Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey, and welcome to a new season. It's nice to have been around for over a year now, and we hope to be around a lot longer with your help. If you'll like us, subscribe, maybe even support us on Patreon, we would really appreciate it. So, our guest today is someone who's near and dear to me. He happens to be my son-in-law. He is from New Zealand, and just about as much from New Zealand as you can get. What that means is that he's 50% Maori, which is what the Aboriginal native New Zealanders are. He was born in Wellington and is part of the iwi, which means tribe, Ngāraru.
Good job, Bob.
Did I get it?
Yeah, good job, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. You've been trying that for a couple of days. That's the best one you've done so far.
So that's his tribe. He's a self-described animation generalist who, like his family, works hard and plays hard. As a team leader at Mukpuddy, and Mukpuddy are the animation studios where he works, he manages a team of animators on top of his regular animation duties. He also does regular freelance work and still makes time to play sports and enjoy his other hobbies. Now, the only sport I know he plays is rugby.
No, I actually never played rugby. I played an equivalent game called touch rugby. So it's faster, but there's no tackling.
Okay,
yeah. Which means
a little safer.
Well, it's safer, and you last longer in it. That's for sure. You have people in there. You have people your age, Bob, still playing. So because they don't get injured as often.
And that's old. So we're going to talk a little bit about not only what Chris does. Did I say your name? I didn't. I just said that you were my son-in-law.
I'm your son-in-law.
Okay, this is Chris Maguren.
It's okay, Bob. You were trying to get my iwi right, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. I'm proud of you for that. That's good.
All right. So, what I find interesting is that Chris is also half Irish. Right?
Yes. So those are the so Maori and Irish. What is the most makes up for me? Apparently, there's a bit of Scottish and Spanish in there, but
okay.
So
you're basically confused.
I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. I'm okay.
Right.
I've always been okay with it, so it's all right.
Well, one of the interesting things that I have found, because the animation that I've watched that you've done is mainly the history show that you do, and you're going to pronounce that for me. Go ahead.
So the show is called the Aotearoa History Show. So Aotearoa is the Maori indigenous name for New Zealand, and it stands for the Long White Cloud.
Long White Cloud.
Yes, because when the very early Maori settlers, which came from the Tahitian part of the Pacific, that was the first thing they saw when they approached. They saw this long white cloud, which ended up being New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he knows a lot about the history as well as the culture.
I've retained a bit. I did the animation. I tend to learn a lot more from my job as an animator, helping people with their projects than I did almost when I was in school, which but no, I did learn a bit from the history show. There's a lot of fascinating things that even my dad, who's a bit of a history buff himself, didn't even know, which is quite cool. So yeah.
Well, from what I saw of that history show myself, there's an awful lot to know. But this being all about your spiritual journey, my interest, of course, is mainly in the Maori culture as it relates to the spiritual side of it. And I've got a lot of questions and curiosities about all that, but what I'm going to do is let you loose, because what this show is about is hearing about your spiritual journey from childhood till now, and how all this fits with your heritage. So I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
And you can ramble on for as long as you want, and then I'll ask you some questions.
Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose in most cases, like what I know about being Maori, because like you said, half Maori, half Irish. That's from we'll say a genealogical point of view, I guess is a way of looking at it. But it is in Maori culture, there is no fractions. Like, they don't believe in fractions at all. If you are Maori, then you are Maori. It's just it's a very simple way of looking at it. So even though, like, if I was to take a DNA test, and they would say this is my percentage in, I suppose, a spiritual sense and cultural sense, Maori don't believe in fractions. They believe you have other things, surely, but if you are Maori, you will always be Maori, and 100% Maori to them.
Even though you're really 50%.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like me, but there's been a lot of really nice stories of people even coming from America who lived in America their entire lives. We have one parent who's American, one who's Maori. They go looking for their iwi to find out, and then they very much tell them, say, no, it doesn't matter how much percentage you are just Maori to everyone.
How nice and simple.
Yes, it is, because there was for a while a little bit of, like, sometimes during tougher times, some would, especially I think around the 90s, because I got a bit of this myself, is like, I'm not Maori enough, because a lot of Maori too tend to have darker skin than me.
Yeah.
My lighter skin comes from my father's side.
But
a better understanding over the last 10 or 15 years is like, no, doesn't matter how much your percentage is in Māori, you are Māori. And that's always been there. There are some people who are white with freckles and orange hair in New Zealand who are Māori. And so, that's how far it goes. But yeah, it's a very nice thing. It's a very good message that's definitely been pushed harder over the last couple of years, which is nice.
Because I wondered about that, because there's a Maori party politically.
Māori. Yep, Te Pāti Māori on my hat. That's my hat that I'm wearing right now. Yeah.
And I wondered how they determined you being allowed to be part of that party, if there was a DNA test.
No.
And apparently not.
No, I mean, I suppose you could if you wanted to, but a lot of the times it's, I think, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine if you know what your iwi is, if you have enough knowledge, you can track it yourself, and I'm pretty sure that's all you need. But yeah, I don't know if you just have to be Māori, be in Te Pāti Māori, because even though I voted for them and being Māori, there were some people who weren't Māori who voted for them as well, this kind of last election. So yeah, I have never actually looked into that. I want what the requirements to be a leader of Te Pāti Māori will be. I've never really looked into it. I don't think the questions ever really come up, to be fairly honest, because as much as I love the fact that I voted for them, they're not a massive party. So those sorts of questions I don't think come up too often. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't mean to divert you from your story.
No, this is called conversation, Bob. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I think it's yeah. I suppose it's my spiritual journey being someone who is Māori. I think, at least for me and my brother, who's my younger brother, we were just raised around Māori culture. Luckily, we're like, even though Aotearoa isn't Te Reo Māori, the language we're not as versed in it as we'd like to be. We're always around it, and I guess it's just normal life to us, really. So we would regularly, when we were younger, we would go back to the Marae, so my mother's Marae, and we'd almost have family reunions like every year. And it was always a lot of singing, a lot of eating, which is hangi. Hangi is basically a ground oven, which takes
Oh,
6 to 8 hours to cook, and but that's a very involved process in itself. You might get the job to dig the hole, go to dig the deep hole, or bring the food in, or you might be the one who has to watch it, and so you have to sit there for 6 to 8 hours and just watch the food and just keep an eye on it.
Where does the heat come from?
The heat. So you would generally heat up stones.
Okay.
Stones. So yeah, there's a type of volcanic rock, a specific volcanic rock that's generally used. And I guess traditionally wise, you would put heat them up on a fire and then transfer them over. But I've also seen online some guys say if you don't have a fire, you can also heat them up on your barbecue, which is
okay.
So it's
almost like charcoal
in a way, yeah. And if I recall, I haven't been a part of a hangi for a while, but what I can recall is like you would lay the stones down at the bottom, and then you would put the food on top. And I think traditionally you would usually wrap the food up in leaves, like potato, birds, because birds and stuff like that. But now you can actually have like cages, like hangi cages as it cooks. So you can just put all the food in a cage, and it's easier to lower down and cooks quite nice as well. So yeah, but that was a big part of my brother and I's upbringing, is just going to the marae a lot and being with family, basically. With my mum's side is especially just being there, running around as kids, having fun, and because almost all maraes are out in the countryside, so you get a lot of greenery. It's the horses usually. Someone who usually has a horse or two, and just run around. And as kids, you just run around, have fun. Sort of, I don't know if you take it for granted. Being a kid, you can take a lot for granted as a kid, but no. But then it is good to, like, especially if life gets busy, look back on that and look forward to the day you get to go back again. And I suppose it's just I suppose being Māori's just been my life, really.
Yeah, that process you talk about reminds me of when we were in New Zealand and you were showing us around.
Mm-hmm.
We went to a place where there were hot springs.
Yes.
And they would lower the food.
Oh, that'll probably be Rotorua. So yeah. Rotorua. So yeah, it's a beautiful place to visit. Rotorua as well. Yes. There are some places in New Zealand like Rotorua and a place called Hot Water Beach where the volcanic activity is so close to the surface. Like at Hot Water Beach, you could actually dig a hole deep enough into the sand and actually cook your food that way. So so that for Māori that lived around there, that like half the job was already done for them. They didn't have to heat anything up. They could just dig a hole and cook their dinner that way. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But Rotorua is kind of a similar thing as well. The whole place is hot. It's got hot springs and geysers and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a volcanic spot itself. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bit of your childhood around how you absorbed some of the culture. So when you went to these family reunions, were they not speaking English? They were speaking Maori?
Yeah, there's a bit of both, because like say my dad for example, he's Irish Kiwi basically. He's Irish Kiwi. Lived in New Zealand his entire life, born there. Knows a little bit of te reo, but more so just the greetings. But he probably couldn't have a conversation with you. But my family was fully open about that. They would still so if you'd go into a marae, you'd be welcomed on, which was what's called a powhiri. And it is how do I explain this? It is basically a welcoming on. You'd have usually have a kaimātua, who is your elder, the head elder, as we say, just welcoming you on to the marae. If you are a visitor, like if you are someone who might not be a part of the iwi per se, a gift would be put down. This dates back years
Yeah.
and years of this particular tradition. You'd put the people welcoming you on would put the gift down, and you have the opportunity to pick it up, hold it, as a show of I accept your gift. Thank you for welcoming onto your marae. Or you could throw it away and you could start a war.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it is. I guess it's the best way of saying it. It is a peace offering.
Okay.
Is a good way of putting it. So yeah. No, no one's ever thrown it. I've never seen anyone throw it away. I don't know. I don't think one's been thrown away for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happened for quite a while.
Yeah.
But no, it's something that like on a wider scale, like you might have someone like Beyonce come into New Zealand to do her concerts and her tours, and usually there'll be a local iwi who will do a powhiri for her.
Oh.
And a lot of artists get this when they come over, when they go over.
So hopefully they're schooled in accepting the gift rather than rejecting it.
Well, no. See, and that's the thing. It's so like you'll have the iwi doing the powhiri, welcoming the person in, but someone from that iwi will be standing next to Beyonce, just lightly explaining, just explaining what it is, what's going on and stuff. Because there's a little bit, sometimes parts of it might look a little intimidating to some people, because there will always be some part of the powhiri who will have what's called a taiaha. It kind of looks like a spear. Except it's not a spear, but but it is also something that is part of just rituals and celebrations. So although its purpose is a weapon, it is also can just be seen as a leadership staff almost.
So if they reject the gift, that spear may end up in their body.
We would hope not. Yeah, possibly. I mean, like I said, never happened before. And I think, and to be fair, like almost every musician who I've seen videos of having a powhiri perform before them have always found it awesome. And something they've never seen before, and they've always enjoyed themselves. In fact, I think it was when David Bowie first went to New Zealand, he was welcomed onto Marae, and I think his his schedule only had him scheduled to be there for a half hour. Yeah. But he enjoyed himself so much, I think he stayed there for like 4 hours.
Oh.
And there's footage of him just like talking to local people, just talking to people within the marae and stuff like that. And apparently that was the thing. He just said, "No, I'm enjoying this. I'm staying for longer." Yeah. So yeah, and that's a bit of a common thing. Bob Marley did the same thing, but I wasn't surprised Bob Marley enjoyed the Maori culture. So that's fine. That one I wasn't surprised in. But the Bowie one was great. The Bowie footage is awesome.
Yeah, that sounds exceptional.
Yeah, no, it was always like for Mukpuddy, we just had our own one, our own powhiri.
Oh,
yeah, very recently. It was there is an iwi of Auckland City, and or Tamaki Makaurau, as the land of Auckland is called. That's its ancestral name, is Tamaki Makaurau. Because even though the studio Mukpuddy has been around going on 20 years now, we have a new project coming up that's really big, and it's gonna be the biggest project we've done. We've got a whole lot of new animators coming in and workers and stuff on the project. Yeah. Got a group in Canada who is helping us out, so they were kind of a part of it, but via Zoom. So you can do one via Zoom. Yeah, so if you can do that, if you can't make it, but it is powhiris can also be used as the start of something new, as like the welcoming of a new stage in the life of someone or something or a group of people. And yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot what the iwi's name was. I'm blanking on it at the moment. But that was, so we had a powhiri recently before I flew out. to come see you guys. It was the Friday before I flew out. They had done one for Mukpuddy, and we have a few people who work for us who are from America who really loved it, and right afterwards, just a very positive buzz about everything.
Yeah.
I got asked as part of the leadership group and someone who's also Maori to accept the offering, because an offering was there, and I did tell the guy straight away. I said, yes, I know to hold on to this. I know to hold this in my hand. I followed a little most of his lead. He was good at indicating, and that's the thing. They understand that not everyone is as versed as we could be due to life and paying the bills and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, very cool about it, very calm, and just so like, nope, you can come closer now, come closer. Okay, now you can, sort of thing, man. Yeah, it was a good time. And this particular iwi, they also like do the same thing for like say a new bridge getting built. It's a way for them to bless the bridge, much like they blessed Mukpuddy as well. So, and they're very busy people. They do it quite a bit. A lot of new things get built. So a new building might go up, or a building's been renovated. Yeah, and it is just the blessing of the local people of the land, basically. Yeah, which is always nice.
So now I understand better about why you weren't able to come over with Amanda. This sounds pretty critical that you stayed a few extra days.
Yeah, because even though I believe my knowledge of I guess my native language is, I always feel like I could be better, and even just general knowledge I could be better. It was definitely like with a lot of people at work, apart from maybe 2 or 3 of us, that they knew even less. And it's like, and even though I not been as involved in a powhiri, especially from a senior point of view, I had been a part of enough to know what was going on and what to expect, and like, just help. It was really, I found it very. I found it awesome that a lot of my directors and the others of the leadership group were trusted in me to know that, and it was quite nice that I come and was like, oh, is this all right? He said, it's okay. These people, it's cool. It's okay. You can just ask them a question. They won't get offended. It's fine. Yeah.
So this group from the iwi who goes around doing this. Does that mean they're for hire? Like you pay them to come in to do this ceremony?
I actually don't know.
How does that work?
I actually don't know, because it was our production one of our production managers, Daisy. She was the one who put her and one of our co-producers, Roger. They were the ones who put this in motion. Yeah. Because Daisy especially has been she's worked on live action productions where it's common for that to happen. And she pushed it very hard. And I'm glad she did too, because it was very good. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I imagine they probably do get. It's kind of, I don't know if you'd say hire. Okay. I don't know if hire is the right word, but they definitely will get something out of it. But I think they're just also happy to do it. And they saw the studio. And they saw, I mean, you've seen the studio before, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
So,
just fascinating.
And even just the kōrero, or the conversation, there was, they were just looking around and said, oh, our kids would love this. And they were like, well, we'd love to have you guys up at the Marae, and if you want to, and come talk about animation to our kids and some of the people. I think we're like, yeah, that sounds great. So, and also just in my personal view, just sort of letting a lot of Māori know that there are Māori in the animation industry. Yeah. Because I feel like there's something in fact, New Zealand, a lot of New Zealanders don't even believe there's an animation industry in our country is one thing, let alone people who are Māori working in it. So, and then that was the whole thing of me doing the history show as well. So, I wanted to make people know that someone who has Māori heritage contributed to this. So and especially from the animation side of things. Yeah.
Okay, so in thinking about ceremonies, I know that I was introduced to a couple of them, thanks to your showing us around when we visited New Zealand. And by the way, audience, I highly recommend visiting New Zealand and making sure you set aside at least 3 weeks when you get there, because it's halfway around the world from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Hobbiton just recently put in a hobbit hole you can actually walk into now.
It's
a very recent addition.
Yeah, and Hobbiton is there, and you can tour Hobbiton and have fun with that. Anyway, when we were there and you showed us around, there was a group that here we'd call maybe a dance troupe, but they were they were a bit more than that. Yes. They were going through some ceremonial dance that involved a lot of grunting and different noises and sticking your tongue out and totem poles. So that made me think, okay, there's totem poles here, there's a ritual. This sounds very spiritual to me, that is grounded in some spiritual history. So what was that all about?
So what you probably would have saw would have been a Kapa haka group. And they're kind of exactly what you thought. They are a dance troupe, okay, in a way of putting it. But they, it's all based around song. Some of the songs probably have a bit of history and a bit of spiritual sides to them. But every iwi has their own. Like every iwi in the country has their own sort of songs and what they represent. And from a spiritual side of things, it just Kapa haka groups are very good at keeping yourself involved in the spiritual side of Māori.
Okay.
Yeah, because
if you belong to one of those groups, you're steeped in your culture.
Yeah, and it's a very and they're just great to be a part of. I used to be a part of because schools have Kapa haka groups as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think every school, but most schools have a Kapa haka group. And you always see there's nothing bad ever comes out of it. Like you might have some kids who might be a bit naughty a lot of the times, but when they're part of the Kapa haka group, they just want to be involved and sing the songs, and it just embodies anyone who's part of the Kapa haka group with a sense of acceptance. And it's any kind of, in the schools it involves all the kids, not just kids who are Māori as well, and it gives them a sense of like belonging as well and being a part of something, which is great.
So when you were growing up and you were in grade school, they had a separate Māori group in classes, or
no? At least from so we did taught some Māori in primary school and in intermediate for me. The Kapa haka groups, it was optional. Like it wasn't like its own set aside class. It was, I guess, you'd call it an extracurricular.
Yeah.
But I remember in primary school it was very popular. Like a lot of kids wanted to do it, and so we had a very big Kapa haka group in primary school. I can't remember the equivalent of what that would be in primary school would be in America. I was about 9 or 10 when I was in my primary school, but I've lost track. But no, it was quite a big deal for my school. Yeah, we had a Māori language teacher called Mrs. Smith, who I know not very Māori name.
Wait a minute, Mrs. Smith.
She was. Yeah. No, she very much was Māori though. Yeah. And she was very good at leading that for us. And but yeah, and it was just a fun thing to do, and it was at least for my brother and I, it was normal. Like it was a normal thing to do. It was like you just wanted to be involved in it.
Right. So if each school had their own group, and it was like an iwi, did you then have competitions?
Oh,
like
yeah.
schools would get together and
Yeah, no, there
Okay.
is a big national Kapa haka competition that gets televised on New Zealand television,
oh,
and it's always very impressive. And the crowd gets larger every year, it feels. And I can't remember. I think they are in the middle of the North Island. They take place, I think, near Whanganui, I think, which is where a lot of my family is from. I believe. I might be wrong. It might also move around, but I think
Yeah.
it was in Whanganui at one point. But yeah, it is a competition, friendly competition. Like it's
Yeah.
all friendly competition, and yeah, there's a school one, and I'm pretty sure there's just a big national iwi competition, which is always like they're great to watch. And they come up with new songs. Like iwis will come up with new songs sometimes, or maybe try and do something different for another song. And yeah, it's a fun thing to watch. You might be able to see it in America. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Although you can probably YouTube Kapa haka.
Uh-huh.
Kapahaka, and you'll probably get a lot.
So that's Kapa
Haka.
Haka.
So those are two words, Kapa and haka.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people in America who watch some rugby probably heard the word haka before. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. Last night I was I tried that, just the haka with Ted Lasso, because I thought I remembered that they were doing something. And it really comes up with, especially that dance that he does. And those of you who are Ted Lasso fans, you'll know that there's a bit of a dance that that he made famous, and that's his haka.
Oh, okay.
So I thought looking up haka would just show me a specific New Zealand dance, but no, it's whatever your tribe dance is. That's it.
So haka can sometimes be translated to war dance as well.
War dance. Okay.
Yeah. If you ever Google search when the All Blacks do their haka before a game, the one they've done for a while, if you Google search what it means, it is a lot more. It's probably a lot more violent than, but it's by no means an actual "we are going to go to war" sort of thing. It is for the rugby fields, it's for the sport fields, and it's a way it's evolved over time.
Yeah. So the All Blacks are New Zealand's rugby team.
They are, yes. Sorry about that. So
okay. Have to keep our audience in mind. And translate some things. And a very successful one. I think this year they made it to the semifinals.
They made it all the way to the finals. And
the final.
They got beaten by South Africa in the final.
Yeah.
And both South Africa and both All Blacks and the South African team were not predicted to even make it past the quarterfinals, let alone make the finals. So, yeah, exciting competition. It was very exciting. The Rugby World Cup was quite exciting this year. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But now I know that you're not a rugby player. You're a touch rugby player.
Yes. And I played some basketball as well. So yeah, at the time when I was younger, I was very short and very light and very skinny. So I was not pegged to play rugby, which is fine. If I really wanted to play, I would have tried, even regardless of my size.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just trying to think where we are in your own spiritual journey. So when. So you got some of this culture and iwi going on, not only with your family but with your school, as you were coming up, and you've got extended family. Now, you mentioned in North Central, or the North Island, Central North Island, you had family there.
Yes.
But you also have family on the South Island, right?
Yes, but not, but only because they moved there.
Oh, okay.
Like they all like my family, my iwi are all around the wharenui area. So which is also known as Taranaki as well, the Taranaki area. But no, in terms of having family in the South Island, it's just because they moved.
Okay.
And not like hundreds of years ago, like more like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
have you traced your iwi and your family back through
further?
history at all?
A little bit. I have a cousin called Tapiri and another cousin Tororatanga, and they are very good at that. Like this is their bread and this is what they study.
The genealogy.
Yeah,
stuff.
they're not just they don't just do it just because they want to. They do it also because they love it, and then they kind of want to make it part of their job almost to track back historical stuff and all that. So I don't know. It's sort of like for me, I have so much family that, especially on mum's side, who tell us a lot. Because the Maori history was told like before writing, because it was
all oral history.
It was all oral or carved into the Marae, so the meeting house, the Maori meeting house. A lot of history is carved into, and there was no written word for a long time, so a lot of it was verbal and passed down through story.
So these meeting houses, that's where I witnessed all of these what we call totem poles. I don't know if you call them totem poles.
I'm trying to remember what they're. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the I'm lost on what the name is. But it's kind of what it is. Yeah.
So those wood carvings that would represent different years or different eras for the iwi,
or a particular or an important part of history and something to remember.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't think there's anything chronological about the way a lot of them are made, but they represent something or someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there a meeting house for your iwi in Central?
Yep. Yeah. It's I think last time my brother and we went there about 3 years ago for maybe it was more like 5 years ago for a type of family reunion. It wasn't as big as it usually was. That's because people grow up, get busy, it's a thing that happens. But he and I went down, and just to go see everyone, as many people as we could. And but we do have our own marae, and it's always nice to go back. It's always nice to go. I always drive past it and miss the turn off I meant to go to get there. I don't know why. I think it was because there's a bit of a lip or a hill that sort of obscures it and covers it from the direction I come. So I always miss it, and then I get to this certain point and I'm like, I've driven past it again.
Yeah. So next time Amy and I are in New Zealand, can you take us up there?
I don't see why not. I mean, who knows? Maybe, hopefully, luckily for us, something might be on for you guys to see. And I can always just see what I can always ask around, see what happens, and you never know. The local, the whānau or the family. Whānau is family in Maori. They might just take you there so you can have a look and stuff. And who knows? Because you're there. And someone takes us there. Other members of the whānau might hear about it and then come up, and then all of a sudden there might just be a lot of people there. It sometimes happens. Yeah, in a good way as well.
Yeah, no, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I can always ask around. I can always know how I'm asking.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, I'm just keeping an eye on the time here because we could ramble on for a long time. So let's talk a little bit about how you got involved then in doing this history show and what happened with it? Because I know it's in all the schools now, or a lot of the schools anyway. So how did all that come about?
So that came about when I was working at Mukpuddy. I had just started working for them, and after doing a bit of a year of freelance, because I'd got let go from the last studio I worked for on not bad terms. I was just let go. Some things weren't working out. It happens when you're a freelancer. You get used to it. But I decided to, for a year, not work at a studio and just freelance on my own for a little bit. Somewhat successful. And then I got called up from Mukpuddy, started working there for a year, and sort of realized, okay, I need to, because I met your daughter, who's now my wife, and I sort of was thinking, okay, my directors at Mukpuddy don't mind me doing side work. They don't mind me picking up extra contracts on the side as long as I get what I've got, what I have to do with them done, which I'm totally understandable, and they don't sort of they actually encourage it a lot to do your own thing and make sure you have control of your own career as well. And they and then I think through someone at Mukpuddy, because then I just started looking, okay, is there anything else I can look for to earn a little bit more money? So Amanda and I are just a little bit better off. And then someone at work put up on our Slack on our forum and just said, her agent had just put out someone is looking for someone to do some freelance work for a small, I think it was called a small job. And I was like, I will have a look at this small job, and it turned out to be for Radio New Zealand, or RNZ, who were at the time who have been a radio station for a long time, but were wanting to push into more visual mediums to keep themselves alive and keep themselves relevant and make sure they were still delivering quality sort of history or knowledge to people. And at first they asked me to do a test, which was about a Maori chief who very famously cut down an English flagpole and burnt the village. And I just ran with it. Thought, okay, I think this is quite cool. I get to do some stuff in history. I might be able to. I didn't have the job yet, and I said I might be able to do some stuff in history. I knew some of it, so I was like, oh, this will be really cool to do. And they really liked what I did. The little piece of animation of a Maori chief cutting down a flagpole, and they said, yeah, this is really cool. And then they were like, we're probably going to split the job between you and this other guy. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm cool with that, because they did say 13 episodes, or maybe it was 14 episodes of history, and I think I would do maybe 6 or 7 minutes of animation in each of them, and they were like, we're going to split it between the two of you. I'm like, oh, I'm cool with that. But then about a week later, they were like, they called me. They called me this time, didn't email me. They called me, and they were just like, so we decided not to go the other guy and just give you everything. Are you okay with that?
Suddenly this small job got bigger.
It did. It got very big. And I think at the time I was just wanting to push myself just professionally to sort of see what I'm capable of doing and see just what that looks like. And I tend to believe in you really know what something's like if you experience it. Yeah, you can think about it all you want, but you will really know how much you can push yourself, how much work is involved when you do it. But it's the committing to doing it. That's the thing I had to keep telling myself. But I did. I think for season 1, I think I did something like an hour and a half's worth of digital media, I think, in total, which is a lot for one person.
Yeah.
but I did it. I finished it, which I was like, I think I literally just finished the last bit of animation. I pressed send to send it off, and I just went to Amanda and said, I'm done. And then I think I just sat on the couch. She even offered me a beer, and I said, I just like water, please.
Yeah.
Can I just have water? But they paid me very well. It helped pay for Amanda and I's wedding, any expenses and stuff. So, and got to sort of put a bit aside, and yeah, just it was such a successful show that when COVID hit and we had New Zealand went into lockdown for 3 or 4 months, they needed to keep the education side up. So they had had education channels on just regular television, and they picked the Aotearoa history show to be the 12 o'clock slot for history, and it was so popular that they gave them funding for a second season, and then they asked me back.
Yeah,
and paid me a little bit more to come back for a second season. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the proudest moments of my professional life is doing that and doing a second season. If they do a third season, I will do it, but I'm not pushing for it. I have said that to people. They're like, do you think there'll be a third? I'm like, there'll be just as much reason to have a third as there wouldn't be to have a third. So,
yeah.
And even though I worked really hard, everyone worked really hard on that show. The creator and co-host, Will, he wrote basically everything.
Yeah.
Researched. He had historians helping him, but he was the showrunner, and I knew he was very tired and burnt out, and he just wanted to go back to his podcasts, which is just him recording and interviewing people for a wee while, which is totally I totally get it. So like, yeah, if a third season comes, I'll definitely probably consider doing it. But if another comes, I'm okay with that too. 2 seasons of being the only animator on a almost 12 to 14 episode show is good enough for me to hang my hat on and say I did a good job.
Well, especially since Mukpuddy now has this big project that they're launching.
Yeah.
So that's going to keep you busy.
Well, I think I did. One of the producers for RNZ, Tim, he called me up last year. It wasn't actually to offer me anything. He just wanted me to give him a little bit of consulting advice on another project. And, and it was to do with kids' storybooks, and I was doing a bit of networking for him as well. He was like, do I know anyone? I said, oh yeah, and I put some friends' name out there. This is what you have to do as freelancers, especially in the media. You put your friends out there if you can't do the job.
Sure.
Yeah. So and you just sort of like, no, it's not necessarily because you want anything back. You just want your friends to have work, and you think they're good at what they do. So, But yeah, it's but I'm definitely not looking for anything this coming 2024 because I will be pretty flat out. And I'll be very honest with anyone who offers me work, extra work. I'll just say I'm going to be very busy. So unless you're willing for the deadline to be twice as long, because I will need that much more time to get it done, and we'll just see what they say. You just be honest, and no one's ever gotten angry at me for being honest about my current situation, and if they are, then you don't work with them again.
Yeah. Sure.
You don't need a strong radar to figure that one out. So, but I've just recently, off the back of the history show, I just recently did an animated explainer video for a group called Whakauai, which is a Maori history and leadership group that 2 of my aunties work for. It's kind of almost a bit of a history community group for the local area.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot of money, at least in terms of what you would generally get as an animator, but I sort of took a bit of a pay cut to just help them out and to have something that looks good, basically. Sure. Because they tried looking for an animator or an animation group to help them, and no one was really going to help them. But that's because the amount of money they had just
Yeah.
was
Right.
was and that's just reality. It's no one's fault really, and just right now for helping groups like that out is more to show you can do good things,
Yeah.
and then hopefully the group will get more funding for stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to have me on board. It's just to show that you can get top
Right.
quality work, because they were actually expecting stick figures from me.
Oh.
which I mean, they never gave me a hell of a lot of expectation. The guy I talked to, Tom, I was sort of back and forthing with him a lot, but a lot of people who I do freelance work for, like for Kowai, don't know the process of animation
Yeah.
and what is involved with it. So a big part of it is also educating them, so they have a knowledge of like, oh, if they go to someone else
Yeah.
for maybe a bigger project, maybe they need a team of people to do something, they have some idea and they're not going in blind. So it is also helping people understand an animation process to help better their knowledge of it, but also to like, oh, maybe instead of doing that, we can do it this way then. And it just makes it easier for everyone. You get a better final outcome.
Right.
Which, yeah, I do have the final. The final outcome was pretty good.
Yeah. So you were in the midst of all this when you got engaged to my daughter Amanda.
I love her very much.
we were we were lucky enough to be able to come over for 3 weeks and attend the engagement party, and then it was great to come back a year later and come to the wedding. Now, at the wedding, there were a couple people, family members of yours, who did a piece that was all in Maori. And I never quite understood what that was about, other than it got a lot of applause afterwards and smiles. So can you talk about how they worked that in, and was there a spiritual aspect to that, or was it a typical wedding?
I guess
service?
For Maori weddings, traditionally there is always singing, and that's kind of what it is. And I think especially because like you guys were coming over as well, so it's like it can be acknowledgement of the whānau growing larger due to marriage. And it's a traditional thing. I can't remember what song they were singing because in all truth, Amanda and I did not plan that.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I think it was. I think because it sort of happened during the speeches, if I recall.
Right. Yeah.
I want to say it was my uncle Alec. He is one of my mother's brothers. Who he was the one who got up, and I think it's kind of in a funny way. It's almost like clockwork. As soon as he got up, and because someone had lent Adam a guitar, so Adam could play Amanda down the aisle, which is really nice. And so guitar was there. If there's a guitar there already, something's going to happen. And so Uncle Alec just got a word and said, "Can I borrow the guitar?" or something like that, and got up. And basically my other aunties and uncles who were there just didn't even have to say anything to them. They just all got up and just moved over. And that's just how traditional and how common it is. Like everyone knew.
So just spontaneous.
Somewhat, but also just natural, I guess, is another way of putting it. It's like I think Uncle Alec might have just given them all looks, just sort of the old head nod to the front, and no one argued. Everyone just got up. The group, my family who you saw there, got up and knew what song to sing straight off the bat. And it was that was not something Amanda and I planned for, but it was great. Yeah, it was awesome.
So I'm gonna drag you back chronologically because I know that at some point you got a mountain name, you got a river name, and what's this name business about? I mean, do you have a Maori name that your family knows you by? You know, that's different from how everybody else addresses you as Chris.
Well, most of my family members will actually call me Christopher.
Okay.
Will mostly call me Christopher or Cuz. So, but no, like my brother, we actually have two middle names. My full name is Christopher John Te Maguren, and so Te would be considered my Maori name, which stands for the tree, which is what my opponent, which is what my I'm losing my words, but what my necklace represents.
A tree.
It is a tree, yeah.
It doesn't look like a tree.
It is a bit worn at this point. I've had it for almost over 20 years now, so it has gone through a bit of a war. Maybe I'll show it closer to you later on or something.
Yeah, I do see a bit of a leaf there.
Yeah.
So okay, now I'm getting the tree reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I've had one or two family members refer to me as TLT a couple of times. Although I probably because that's also my uncle's name. One of my uncle's names as well.
Oh, okay.
But I also have a cousin called TLT now. So no, they don't. Not many people call me TLT anymore. Just to make things for clarity, to make sure people don't get confused.
Okay.
But yeah, if I have a Maori name, it is TLT.
And what's your brother's name?
Nahina. So my brother's full name is Liam Nahina Joseph Magruen.
Okay.
Yeah. And both my brother and I have a thing called tamoko, which is on my left arm.
Okay, I was waiting to see those tattoos.
Yeah, so it's left arm, and this is much like our family member who did this. When he did them, although he knows, we'll say our English names, as they were happening, he referred to us as Te for me and Nahina for Liam.
Okay.
And so tamoko, as you can see, is a tattoo, but it is also it's a representation of my entire family. So I'll do my best from what I can see. I've got a sore shoulder too. So up here is my parents. Can't quite see that. That's my dad there, and my cousin put a shamrock in there to represent.
Oh, okay.
To represent Ireland.
That's
so
pretty cool.
You can have some artistic interpretation. It's fine.
If you look at the camera, you might be able to see it easier.
Oh yeah, maybe. So I might have to get closer to the camera. I don't know, but that's it right there. So little shamrock in there. Okay. And right there is my mother, and you can tell, even though I'll move my finger, but there is a little loop which stands for the umbilical cord, represents the mother, which is something which I don't entirely know if that's like something that's happened in Maori history. It's just that's what my cousin likes to do.
Yeah.
It's his little thing he likes to put there. And down the bottom here represents my brother and I. So you have the parents up here, and then my brother and I down here. And right at the back here, this very impressive, almost I'll see if I can get the camera right. This impressive sort of triangular one here. This is historically our oldest known ancestor, Te Manahira. So, but from what we can recall, but long time ago, so if you talk about looking back in history, at least for everyone in our iwi, she's our oldest known relative. It's Te Manahira. Okay. And I actually have a cousin called Te Manahira too. Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what's on the other arm?
Oh, so on the other arm. So I like artistically, I like balance. I might stand up actually. So on this arm is a Irish Celtic mirror of my tamoko. So I have my Maori side and my Irish side, and it's based off the Celtic zodiac.
Okay.
So much like my other side with my mother and father at the top, it's the same with here. So both my parents they are deer. Both my parents are deer. And down here, my brother's zodiac symbol is a horse. And down here, it's in the reverse. Down here is me, which resembles the fox. So both my arms. I'm not going to get that on the camera probably, but
okay.
But my tattoos mirror each other. Okay. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. But much like I was saying before, and how history is preserved, was preserved with Maori through verbal, but also carving and artwork. Yeah. Tamoko is the same in a similar sense. Yeah. So you would have some tamoko that would have a bit of history involved.
Okay. I'm keeping an eye on the time here. Okay, so a couple things then. I recall that politically, just recently, one of the Maori holidays has become a national holiday.
Matariki, yes.
And so what does that, what's that holiday for? I mean, what do you do on that holiday, or what's it celebrate?
You can look at it as Maori New Year.
Okay.
Is a way of looking at it. And it's everything a new year, or even I guess in America Thanksgiving represents. You can or even the Day of the Dead. It's a remembering of the year where you're going, but also remembering and the good times of people you lost. Yeah, and it involves the stars, the Matariki stars. So Māori do actually have their own constellations as well.
Oh,
yeah, and in today's technology, there are Māori language apps that you can hold your phone up to, and it actually tells you
what the constellations are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a whole thing of Māori astrology as well, which I think is. I know nothing about that. I just know it's a thing. But there are some professors in New Zealand who specialize in Māori astrology and stuff as well. But Matariki is our Māori New Year, and it used to be just celebrated, but now it's officially a public holiday, which is really good. And it was taken on pretty well. Like it didn't seem like there was anyone who decided that it was going to be a day where they could just drink, get drunk, and people just hung out with people, enjoyed food, and just had a day off and just enjoyed company. Which, in my thoughts, is the essence of it. You enjoy good company and people you like being around. So yeah.
So historically, and I know we just have a few minutes left here. I know that from watching your history show, I guess I shouldn't call it your history show, but the history show that you animated.
You can call it my show if you want.
Okay. Things haven't always been great between the British and the indigenous folks, but recently some things have changed in terms of property rights and
it's quite a thing to get into. It's the sort of land debates and stuff. I always look at it as just a very hard. It's going to be a very hard thing to come to a conclusion on. Although some conclusions have happened. There's been certain. I can't remember which part of New Zealand, but there was some land that was gifted to a church when a church first got built there in the 1800s. It was somewhat sold by that church to someone else, wherein it probably shouldn't have. But a somewhat, how should we say, a very balanced agreement came along where the current owners of that land, who weren't Māori, they gave it back to Māori, and Māori leased it back to them for $1.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of what I look at as a nice balanced way of looking at things, because it's. I think with a lot, most of the time people think that because Māori say they want their land back, it's like for most Māori they just want it acknowledged that it's their land. Yeah.
It's not like here where you give them some land in a casino and say, okay, this will make up for everything we did. You can have a casino.
Well, like the iwi I spoke about before, who came to Mukpuddy, like they bless a lot of the roads in Tamaki Makaurau or in Auckland, and Auckland's a city, so
Yeah.
so in a lot of ways it is them. It's an acknowledgement that it is their land, even
Yeah.
though it's been built upon. There's a balance there.
I guess what I love about it is it's the energy around what this is all about. And if and when, audience, you get to go to New Zealand, you'll see that the energy is totally different from any other country that you've been to. You know, it can be described as laid back.
It has been described as laid back.
As
Definitely
casual.
Yes, that's very common words, yeah.
Low stress.
Sometimes, most of the times,
And those are all reasons why I recommend going to New Zealand. It's definitely why my daughter has stayed there. She went there originally just as part of a semester in college, and just felt the vibe and just said, I gotta get back there. And it's been 11 years now, I guess.
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite because she did come back for a bit.
Yeah.
She come back to Pittsburgh for a bit,
Right.
and then so she was there for, I believe, 2 years, and then came back for 1 year here, but then went back, and then I think she's been there for the 8 years since.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So she not only has a full-time teaching job there, but she's a well-known author.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
We've got some of her books here, but she did her first series, 3 books, and I'm so proud of her. She did that in 1 year. She churned out 3 pretty good books.
She did.
And now she's working on her second series, and her second book of that series has just come out.
And the third book is to be out by June 13th.
June 13th.
Well, because Amanda has her own birthday tradition because it's her birthday. She now, since she is a full-fledged writer, likes to release a book on her birthday.
Okay.
Mainly because a lot of our friends will be at the party, and then she'll make them buy a book.
Yeah.
But she gets to sign it. She loves the signing side of it. So yeah.
Anyway, I recommend her books. They're under the authorship of A. Jane Dove, and they're all over Amazon, so you can pick them up wherever Amazon exists,
Yes.
which is basically everywhere.
Except Antarctica, I think.
So we're at that time where we wrap up. You have an opportunity to leave any words of wisdom, or a joke, or anything you'd like to leave the audience with.
Leave the audience with. Okay. As the great Bill and Ted once said, be excellent to each other. So that's not by anyone smart. That's by 2 characters from a movie. But I do like that quote: "Is be excellent to each other."
Okay, everybody, you've heard the words. Be excellent to each other. Until next time, this has been your spiritual journey.